Hey guys, this is Morgan J. Ingram here with another chronicle of the SDR Chronicles, bringing you guys special guests to talk about sales development and how to overcome the challenges and to crush your goals. So today I have here Andrea. She is very knowledgeable in the subject matter of rejection, how to overcome it, and how to use that and fuel your success to get to where you need to go. So she's going to introduce herself, and then we're going to go into the topic of how to really deal with rejection and use that as fuel to your success as a sales development representative.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Morgan. It is awesome to be with you tonight. And my name's Andrea Waltz. I'm the co-author of a little book, a fable called Go for No. Subtitle is Yes is the Destination, No is How You Get There. And for the last, about the last 10 years, we have done nothing but train sales organizations of all shapes and sizes about how to use Go for No to improve their results. And fundamentally, it applies to every aspect of the business, whether it's prospecting, literally selling in terms of transactions, upselling, following up. Every aspect requires that the sales development representative, right, go in and make the ask, as I like to say. And so that's basically what we've done. We've done that really for the last 10 years. So I like to joke, I spend all my time talking about the word no, which is really weird to think that we've created this brand around this whole idea. But that's what we do. And the way that it kind of all got started actually was my husband and business partner, we met at LensCrafters.
Awesome.
We were in the training department, and he said, we have all these sales philosophies, all this customer service knowledge, all this stuff that we would like to teach. He said, we could leave the company, quit our jobs. And he goes, let's strike out on our own and see if we could go out and teach our philosophies and all the strategies that we know that work and that we've applied to companies. And that's what we did. So really, we're a B2B company ourselves and have been for the last 20 years. We focused on the retail industry at first for about the first 7-8 years. Go for No was the most popular topic. We could do an 8-hour training and people would walk out and they would be saying, I just need to go for no more. And so we said, all right, we have something. There's something to this message. And I loved it too. I mean, I know how powerful it is in business and sales and in life. And so, as I said, about 10 years ago, we really just made the focus, let's just become the Go for No people, the Go for No experts.
Awesome. And I always believe, as the more that you can specialize in something, the better that you're going to be able to provide value to that marketplace on that subject matter. So yeah. I would like to kind of dive into Go for No. Like, why should I be seeking rejection, right? Like, that's the number one thing people don't want to have is getting rejected. So why should I seek that?
Right. Great question. Great question, Morgan. Fundamentally, the whole premise of the idea of Go for No, it goes counterintuitive to every sales philosophy that most people have ever been taught, right? And we all get taught, how do you go for yes? How do you do everything within your power to get that customer to buy and to say yes? So it's training on rapport building, and it's building that relationship and saying the right things and making the right presentation. And then of course, closing, you have to ask for the sale. Well, in a Go for No world, we kind of have taken it and twisted it and turned it upside down a little bit. And we say fundamentally that while it is true that you should have a great quality presentation and you should be able to build rapport and build relationships with people, and all those things are important, fundamentally, we teach salespeople to go out and intentionally increase their failure rate. And by that, I mean intentionally hear no more often. So what tends to happen for most salespeople is they, especially ones that are comfortable, is they go after kind of the low-hanging fruit. A lot of salespeople who maybe fall into that order taker category, right? They're just taking those orders. They're not out there really prospecting and filling the pipeline and kind of waiting for easy deals because they don't want to be rejected. They don't want to hear the word no. So we're saying, get out there. You've got to hear those no's. You've got to work through them. hearing them makes you a better salesperson, because you can then learn how to manage those objections and how to deal with those no's. In avoiding those no's, that's not going to get you the results that you want. So it's really about taking a negative reality, which is rejection is out there, no's are going to happen, and telling people, go out and seek them, don't run away and don't avoid them.
No, I love it. And I believe that, the more no's that you get, you can use that as leverage and information to actually provide value to people in the future. So how do you tell people, hey, look for that no? What's certain steps that people can start taking now? It's like, okay, cool. Like, that sounds cool that I'm looking for failure and I'm looking for rejections. How do you go about that process?
Yeah, it is completely based on, it is a general concept that everybody has to take and apply to their own situation. So really what it comes down to is whatever your sales function and however you finally ask for business and get business, it's about at every turn where you have the opportunity to get a yes, no decision, you go for it. So it starts actually with the most obvious and the basic whole idea of just calling on new accounts, or calling on accounts maybe that you haven't called on forever, that you just kind of let drift. It starts at the very beginning with the whole idea of prospecting. And most salespeople will find all kinds of excuses and ways to not have to prospect. Right? And if you have plenty of leads coming in, I mean, if people are just calling you night and day and begging you for information,
overflowing.
Yes, such a great problem to have, right? If you're just inundated with people begging you to spend time and help them purchase, and buy from you, that's great. Most people aren't in that position. And so the very first thing that Go for No applies to is going out and making those initial contacts and getting yourself in a position to where you're now having a conversation. So it's, again, it's different for everybody. If your business is the type where you literally go out and you're fact finding and you're data mining and you're getting all the information about your potential client, and then you're finally calling them up and saying, hi, my name is, I'm from XYZ company. This is what we do. This is the problem we solve. Do you have a couple minutes? Whatever that is a Go for No moment, fundamentally, is that initial first contact. And of course, in our business, and what makes, I guess, the strategy a little unique is we don't teach scripting. So I'm not going to sit here and say, well, here's how you do it, Morgan. Here's exactly what you say. Ask them how the weather is over at their office, that makes me crazy. But so we don't teach. It really is about taking that chance and understanding that what affects salespeople is not so much how smooth they are a lot of times. And a lot of times you don't have to be great, right? You don't have to be super smooth, but it's your mindset of, you're looking through your data and you go, wow, this contact, they bought from us 3 years ago. They may be interested today, but I don't know, maybe not. They bought they're probably not interested. I shouldn't call on these people. They haven't been a customer of ours for 3 years, So you come up with all these excuses. So a big chunk of Go for No is helping people change their mindset so that in those moments where they have the opportunity, they take it instead of coming up with all the excuses as to why. Right. They're not going to get a yes. It's not going to work out. And so at every turn, it's, hey, Go for No. So it really starts with the whole idea of prospecting. It starts with filling your pipeline. And then from there, in every step of the way where you have an opportunity to have an honest, open conversation and be okay with getting a no, because a no is a perfectly acceptable answer. Like you said, you can go somewhere when you get a no. If you, if it's kind of left open-ended, or you make some kind of presentation and then it's, all right, well, I'll talk to you about it later, you're better off having that person say, yeah, it doesn't sound like it's for us. Oh, right. Great. Well, can I follow up with you? Or let me ask you why maybe it's not for you.
Yeah, and I love how you said a lot of things there that I actually want to dive down into, but talking about the process and the mindset of someone isn't actually looking for they don't understand the rejection because they're afraid of, oh, okay, like, I don't want to face that. So is it more so the scripting you talked about, how you don't do that? Is it more so the mindset and the psychology of that sales professional?
It's absolutely the mindset and the psychology behind it. Yeah. And it really goes to, like, for example, we have a little model in our book. It's a model of failure and success. And you might be thinking, well, what does failure, the general concept of failure, or the general concept of success have to do with anything? As a student of personal development, which I know you are,
Yes.
after looking at some of your videos, I know you are, you'll appreciate this. What we do is we explain most people in general, salespeople included, see themselves in the middle here. Success is on one side, getting yeses, closing deals. Failure, rejection is on the other side, and they think their mission is to do everything within their power to move towards success, avoid failure, avoid hearing no's. And we're suggesting that they try this different model, which is don't fear rejection, don't fear no, don't fear failure. That's where the magic often happens. And I'll tell you a little strategy that we teach around this. When people get that mindset of, instead of it's either or, it's I'm on one side, the failure, the rejection, hearing the word no, that's in the middle. The successes, the yeses, it's all on the other side. We say all the time, the companies that we've spoken at, sales leaders, team, people that are the number one sales earners, they get the awards, they walk on stage, they get the awards. These are not the people that aren't making calls, and they get a lot of rejection. They also get a lot of wins. They also probably, after time, they get so good that they probably don't hear as many no's, after a long time, because they put themselves out there so much. They have learned and they've worked through a lot of that, where they understand, I get this objection, I know how to manage it. I expect this no. Here's how I'm going to work through it. And they really work through it, and they go for that no instead of just saying, oh, the customer, the prospect told me no, so I'll just scratch that person off our list and never go back to them.
Right. And also following up on that, is it more so that if someone does hear no, is it, basically like, oh, like it's whatever, and like I'm using that as an excuse to why I'm not getting success, and actually instead of prevailing through that rejection?
I think sometimes it can be. A lot of salespeople have that no means never mindset, and a lot don't. But you have to have that no means. What I'm saying is, you have to have that mindset of no doesn't mean never, no means not yet. That's what I was trying to say. And so that idea of, hey, a lot of times, especially in the what I've seen in the B2B world, where you're calling on somebody and you're maybe trying to take them away from a supplier, and people are hesitant to make changes, right? They don't want to be the person that screws up, and so it takes a lot of contacts. It takes a lot of, as you say, creating that value, building that relationship, following up with that person, and you may touch base with them 10, 12 times over a period of years, depending on how long your sales cycle is. But if you don't give up, eventually that person's going to go like, wow, this company wants my business, and the current supplier just screwed up for the 9th time. That's it. I'm finally switching. You've got to be there for that to happen. And right. That's where that psychology really kicks in, and you take all of your invested time and you turn that into profitable time.
Yeah, and I think that's really huge. And I want to kind of go back into something you said multiple times, and I want to bring it back up. Prospecting. Why do you think that people are actually afraid to prospect, knowing that they have more people to talk to that will give them rejection? Is that why people actually don't prospect to begin with?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think because people are operating off of this fundamental fear in many cases that they just don't want to put themselves in a position to be rejected. They feel like they're interrupting somebody. Maybe they don't feel like, there's a couple different reasons, Morgan. It's kind of interesting,
Right.
Sometimes you have to believe in your company's mission and purpose, and you have to like the product and know that, hey, I'm helping you. I'm not out there providing you with a solution that I don't think is good for you. That's why I'm calling you, is based on everything I know about you. This solution could help you. That's the state of mind that you need to come from. So obviously, if you're not in that state of mind, then you're going to feel bad about interrupting somebody and quote unquote, prospecting them and cold calling them. I think there's just a lot of ingrained fear in getting rejected. People don't like it. And from a biological standpoint, we are hardwired not to want to be, not to want to be told no, not to want to be rejected and kicked out of the tribe. And okay, you're on your own. you're on your own, and the rest of the tribe is over here because we've had it with you, right? So really understanding the value that you're providing, I think, is one thing, and understanding that is critical, but then also understanding that failure success model and not taking it so personally when people are not super receptive to you, or they don't call you back, or they tell you no, or whatever. You have to get yourself to a point where that's just part of the process. You embrace that and you move on. So I before I forget, I wanted to tell you, one of the strategies that we teach in our book is we teach people to set no goals. We teach people a process where instead of just setting your typical yes goals, which are, we all have all these different goals and ways of measuring our success, right? Sales, volume, dollars, you break it all down. If it's in retail, or like where I come from, it's units per transaction, an average dollar sale, and all of these different things. And so we track all of this stuff. Well, instead of just worrying about the yes goal, we teach people to set a goal for the number of no's they're going to hear in a given day or week. So for example, if you said to me, hey, I want to close 3 deals this week, I want to get 3 yeses, I would say to you, all right, well, let's not worry about the 3 yeses. Why don't you just go out and get 20 no's? Just get 20 no's. If you get the 3 yeses and you close the 3 deals you want, great. If you do that on Tuesday, I don't care if you do it on Wednesday. It doesn't matter. If you do it on Wednesday afternoon, if you close the 3 deals, yes, normally, right? If halfway through the week, it's like, oh, I hit my quota, I'm done. That's the yes goal mindset. When you're setting no goals, you say, okay, I got the 3 yeses, but hey, it's Wednesday afternoon. I've got 2 days left in the business week, in the work week. I only heard 11 no's, so I still have a lot of work to do. And that's how you can really kick butt on quota, because you can go out there and you keep yourself in action and activity. And this is, of course, whatever business, because again, this is really a global mindset thing. So we don't drill down as to exactly, what this looks like for each person. But I have people tell me all the time, they blew their numbers out of the water because they just stopped focusing and letting the kind of that quota that they were trying to meet. They always stopped their activity. They just said, I just kept setting more meetings. I kept setting more appointments. I kept following up on people that I told I would follow up on and ask them, hey, are you ready to buy? I was doing upselling. Because we work with so many different people, I hear all of these different things, and people have amazing results because they just don't stop when they hit whatever yes goal they have set.
I really like that. And a follow-up question on that is, because they're going for these no goals, because of that, is their self-confidence actually increasing to allow them actually to hit their actual goals?
I love that you brought that up. Yes. And it's interesting because I think that 2 things happen. One, and this is what I have seen. Okay. One, yeah, your confidence increases because you're right. You're able to hit your goals, and it's like, wow, I look at what I'm doing, right? You're proud of yourself. The other thing that happens though is people have real significant attitude change, especially the ones that were really nervous about rejection and this whole idea of failure and hearing no. They say, I was so scared to do it, but you just told me go out and get these no's and don't worry about it. It's almost, Morgan, it's almost like we're giving people permission to fail. It sounds funny, but sometimes people need, because they're so into just getting yes, just being perfect. I shouldn't hear no. If I get a no, I have failed. And we're saying, just go out there and do it. Stop worrying about what the results are going to be. Just take the action. And so people's self-confidence gets built because they go out there and they see, I got no's. I didn't die. I wasn't humiliated. It wasn't that big a deal. And then while I did that, I also got great results. And I think just also to clarify, because you may be wondering, like, all right, what kind of no's are these? And do you try to turn the no's into a yes? And there's all kinds of nuances to this philosophy. We could probably talk on it for like 3 hours, but I will say this. We try to keep the no goal thing simple. So again, it's any stage of the selling process where you have the opportunity to go for no. And certainly I tell people all the time, if you want to try to ask why, or ask, hey, I'm surprised that you decided not to go with it. Is it a timing issue? Can I follow up with you? I mean, you can do and say things certainly to try to move that person from that no to the yes. But here's the beauty of it also. Go for no is not about being the super aggressive salesy salesperson that we all don't want to be, because I wouldn't want to be that. I don't want to promote that. I wouldn't want to be that person. We always say a no is a perfectly acceptable answer. The point is to get out there and take the action. And if you get that no, fine. And if you want to do something with it and figure out a way around it and ask why and ask for follow-up and all of those things, great, do it. But you do it respectfully and you do whatever the prospect or the customer wants. It's a win-win. What I have found is that the go for yes salesperson, which is the person that you think of traditionally like at the car dealer, who's like, what do I have to do to get you in this car today? I'm going to make this happen. We're going to do this deal. And it's like, wow, this person's crazy. They're so pushy. Our philosophy, the beauty of it is you never have to be that way. Never.
Now, yeah, so that's a great point. So the no in itself is setting up for a more of a long-term yes. And so what I guess we're getting at here is more so like patience. So how can a rep right now listening to it that's in SDR role, prospecting, doing cold call, have patience when they're getting these no's?
Totally. Patience is absolutely required. And you do have to have a long-term attitude. I will tell you, I talk a lot to entrepreneurs, people who have their own businesses of all different kinds. And from an entrepreneurial standpoint, I would say SDRs need to think as entrepreneurs and think long-term. And it's, hey, are you going to be in business? Are you going to be doing this 6 months from now or a year from now or 2 years from now? Is this deal worth it to you? Is this relationship good for the company? And if the answer is yes, then you have to have the patience to stick it out and to understand. Again, it depends on your sales cycle, right? I mean, for us, our clients have a potential to hire us to do training usually like once a year, maybe less, right? So if we get a no this year, I have to wait till next year.
Yeah.
I've waited years. I'd finally gotten hired. 9 years later, someone finally hired us who we had been talking to and sending materials to and following up with. So yeah, you have to have that patience and just, but get permission to stay in touch. That's really important. And if that person says, no, I have no interest, I don't stay in touch, then by all means, take them out of your database, off of your list, because quite frankly, now you're just chasing a lead that's not going to turn into anything. You're just wasting your time. So there are some instances where a good no is a good no, and you should just take it and move on. But in most cases, yeah, they have to be patient. They have to follow up.
Yeah. And So is there like, what are like the process behind that, right? Like when you know not to actually, when you get the no to actually kind of come over those objections that we talked about, knowing that you know how to say those things, how do you know when to be like, whoa, okay, like I need to actually wait, and how do I use this no actually to my advantage to get that meeting right now? Like, how do you separate those two?
That's a really good question. So it really, and this is where I think the art of salesmanship comes in.
Right.
You have to be able, you read books about being able to read people and to kind of see where they're coming at. And sometimes if you're talking to somebody over the phone, sometimes you have no idea. Like you just have no idea what's going on. And I always default to be as transparent as, vulnerable is kind of a weird word, but transparent, authentic, honest as possible, and just say, oh, okay, well, I understand. And if you want to try to finesse the situation in that moment, the easiest thing to do is just say, I'm kind of surprised. I thought this seemed like a good time. Do you have a moment? Can I just ask you why? And you can kind of go down that road if you feel comfortable, but you have to have kind of a read on this person. And if they seem hurried or rushed, or it's just like you can tell it's just a bad time, you might want to just say, okay, no problem. You know what? I will check back with you, and click and let them go, and then work on the follow-up process after that. But if you can ask in that moment, oh, no worries. Hey, but do you mind if I check back with you in 6 months to see if anything has changed? Most people will go, yeah, whatever, and they'll hang up, but you've gotten permission.
Cool. Yeah, I think that's super important, because I think, it's hard to gauge that, but it is part of the art of it. But also that process behind it is key, because there's a lot of people who do with a lot of rejection, maybe an entire week. But I think let's kind of talk about the learning lessons behind that, right? The no's and the learning lessons, and actually the value you can bring on top of that. Because I think a lot of people are like, oh, I had my no goals. Like, so for example, I had my no goals getting 50 no's and I didn't get any yeses. I think that should actually excite people more, because now you have 50 things that you can do differently next week that can lead to 50 yeses.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can totally learn. And I will say this too. People ask us all the time, so I just go out and get 50 no's, and then, that seems really counterproductive. You're just telling people to bang their head against the wall. No, definitely not. Like you said, you can learn a lot. And also you need, if you're just getting nothing but no, like literally you just go day after day, no after no, at some point you have to say, okay, what are the patterns? What's going wrong? What am I saying something? And then also, who am I talking to? Are these qualified prospects? Do I know that? You have to start digging and be researching and figuring these things out, because I have had a lot of people who say, yeah, I'm just getting no after no, and there's something wrong then, because statistically, I think it's just you can get on the phone and call 100 people and get a yes out of 100 for almost anything. Like the statistics, just the numbers, that part of the philosophy, the numbers game philosophy. And I don't like using that, because people are not numbers. That's not what we're talking about. Right. But there is that aspect. However, you've got to be that researcher and be able to figure out what's going on. I think what happens, Morgan, is I think a lot of times people are not talking to prospects who are well qualified for what they have. And if they don't figure that out early on, and then they're talking, and now you're 2 years in, and you finally figure out that this person or this company has no need for what you have, that's a problem. That's a lot of wasted time. So you've got to make sure you're talking to qualified people up front.
Of course, and that goes back to prospecting, and that goes back to the process that we've talked about this entire time. And I want to kind of break it down with the last question. You brought a lot of value so far. This is a question I ask every single guest that comes on the show. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to an SDR as they enter into their new role?
Okay. My favorite. Okay. I will give this favorite piece of advice to a SDR as they enter into their new role. Never make assumptions or prejudge anyone about what they're going to do, what you think they have to spend, what they're going to decide. That for us, from a go for no standpoint, that's really like, assumptions are the kryptonite to being a good go for no salesperson. Because when you assume something and you assume, they're just going to say no, just forget it. That's really limiting. So you've got to keep your mind, I would say to the SDR, keep your mind open. Don't start thinking that that you can somehow divine, right, who's going to say yes and who's going to say no. If you did that, then you'd be making millions of dollars a year because you'd be a mind reader.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's my advice.
Cool. Well, Andrea, thank you so much for coming on the Chronicles today. It was really impactful, really insightful. Learned a lot of things about dealing with rejection and how to build that mindset and psychology to overcome that. So as I always say, guys, keep dialing, and I'll see you guys soon.
Thanks.